now at 9.
A new cold front is moving south, and it could mean big trouble in the coming days. I'm Haley Meyer in Nashville. I've got the details coming up.
The oldest woman in Jasper County turned 105 years old today. I'm Melissa Alexis, and I'll have more on her and her story.
And Freeman Health System reveals new details about renovations to its Fort Scott Hospital.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Mother Nature prepares a second helping of wintry weather this week and conditions that could bring more snow and ice to the 4 states. This is KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. Let's go straight to Chief Meteorologist Doug Huddy with a first look at our incoming winter storm.
Yeah, we finally got a chance to thaw out across the region. Now we have another band of light snow, which is going to start to work in as we get into Thursday afternoon. Winter weather advisory across the entire region. This is due to light snow. So this is going to start to push in 3-4 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. It could start 20 or 30 minutes with sleet and then go over to snow. Then it's not super heavy snow, just periods of light snow through the evening, into the overnight hours, all the way into Friday morning, and then this storm system will start to exit the region. So we are going to get some slick roads across the region. For us today, 27, another cold day. 44 is our average high, and if we look outside, right now we're dropping back upper teens to near 20 degrees. We'll talk more about snow moving in here in just a bit.
All right, thanks, Doug. Well, the cold isn't over yet. As Doug mentioned, a new storm system is settling over Texas and threatening the Midwest and northern plains with a deep freeze followed by snow and rain. Fox weather correspondent Haley Meyer has more from Nashville.
Plenty of people are shivering in the south as the polar vortex sent temperatures plunging from the Midwest to the southern plains. This is a new storm system, different from the one that just brought snow and freezing temperatures to much of the eastern U.S. It's centered over northern Texas, threatening to dump snow and rain on the surrounding area over the coming days.
Take the time to prepare now. As we've seen and probably will continue to see, the conditions can change quickly.
In the Lone Star State, road crews are already out in force, pre-treating highways with salt and brine, trying to stay ahead of the storm.
That's going to help us, if all goes as expected, give us a little bit of an advantage of the ice preventing it from sticking to the roadway initially.
Cold weather advisories are now in effect along the Gulf Coast, with wind chill temperatures reaching as low as the single digits in some areas. It's all part of the polar vortex of cold air that usually spins around the North Pole. But this week, it's been sucked down into the U.S. and is still moving south.
We really expect this to be more of a prolonged stretch of well below historical average temperatures. We're talking about 12 to 25 degrees below historical average.
Folks throughout the area are now bundling up and getting ready for the deep freeze, with up to a little over half a foot of snow expected by Thursday.
It's time to bring out those winter jackets, and hopefully they'll have the roads all cleaned up.
Stay at home if you can stay at home.
Here in Tennessee, they're expecting as much as 2 to 7 inches of snow, with temperatures finally climbing above freezing by the end of the weekend. In Nashville, I'm Haley Meyer, Fox News.
Well, depending on where you live, you probably did not hear a storm siren this morning. Despite being the day of the month, the sirens are usually tested. Emergency management officials say because of the below freezing temperatures, running the test now could cause damage to the equipment.
If there's any type of moisture in a siren and that might be frozen, we don't want to take a chance of damaging a siren for the test. Now, if it was a real event and it's 10 degrees outside, we're going to set them off no matter what.
To avoid any false alarms, the sirens will be tested again next month. Now, if they cannot test them for 3 months in a row, they'll do a silent test of the systems instead. Well, the Kansas Route 66 byway is a must visit for families and nostalgic travelers alike. The 13-mile stretch of road weaves through 3 vibrant communities in southeast Kansas, each brimming with activities and attractions. And tonight, volunteers met at the Baxter Springs Heritage Center and Museum to discuss upcoming events along the historic roadway.
You know, we would not have the byway without the group of volunteers that we have had since its inception. And none of the Kansas byways would exist without tremendous amounts of volunteer work. We wouldn't have the signage on the roads without these volunteers. We wouldn't have the mapping system that we have without the volunteers.
The Kansas Route 66 Historical Byway Group meets 4 times a year. Their next meeting will be April 8th.
Educator Award goes to Meredith Reed.
Well, that surprised look comes from Girard, Kansas native and choir teacher Meredith Reed. Reed awarded the Milken Educator Award today at an all-school assembly at Girard High School in front of a crowd of cheering students and colleagues. The Oscar of Teaching is awarded to exceptional educators for their dedication to excellence in education and leadership. For Reed, the real reward comes from working with her students.
My why is when I see those kids come into my room. And whenever I see their progress and see their pride in the concerts that they do and the contests that they achieve won ratings at, that becomes my why.
Well, Reed's award marks the first ever Milken honor in Girard District 248 history. Well, it is the 105th birthday of a special member of the community. The oldest woman in Jasper County celebrated her big day today, surrounded by family and friends. KOM's Melissa Alexis attended the celebration.
It's a good life.
Helen Hubbard made a grand entrance on a red carpet to her 105th birthday celebration.
I'm enjoying every minute of it.
Cake, balloons, and music to celebrate the oldest person in Jasper County. Her friends, family, and others traveled far and wide to be by her side at St. Luke's Nursing Center in Carthage.
People from Savar City that came, so Branson area. I mean, we've got relatives flying in from California. It looks like there were people from like an Army officer corps that came.
At the celebration, the mayor of Carthage declared January 8th Helen Hubbard Day. She's had a long life and she's even had multiple careers. She started out as a teacher and then she later became a dietitian for the Army.
Teaching, I think, high school, a couple different classes, and somebody came in, I guess a magazine salesman, and convinced her to join the Army. And so she went in as a dietitian and kind of worked her way up.
Hubbard's granddaughter, Grace Brown, says the World War II Army vet is known for being a huge Chiefs fan and for her big personality.
Very, very spunky. She's got a great sense of humor. Always likes to crack a joke or poke fun at you a little bit or tease you a little bit.
Hubbard says her secret to a long life is having a positive outlook.
Putting up with what happens and go along.
And her faith.
God's looking after us all this time. And He's been pretty busy on me for 105 years.
Reporting in Carthage, Melissa Alexis, KOAM News.
Hubbard has 14 total great-grandchildren. Well, coming up, remembering Carter.
Thousands of mourners paid tribute to former President Jimmy Carter. I'm Rebecca Castor in Washington with the latest on his funeral services coming up.
But first, in Health Watch, local experts sound the alarm on respiratory viruses and the flu, sharing essential tips to keep you healthy and safe. Well, Freeman Health System announces it's making progress on the Freeman Fort Scott Hospital that was proposed back in June. The 10-bed general medical unit and 24-hour emergency department will operate within the city's former hospital site. Planning for the renovations and the design phase are now complete. The renderings were submitted to state officials, and once approved, those renovations will begin. Freeman Health System says they're optimistic the facility will be open this spring. Well, as we move deeper into the winter months, respiratory viruses are on the rise. Freeman Hospital in Joplin reports cases of flu and RSV are currently in double digits. And experts warn these numbers will likely continue to climb if we don't take the right precaution. KOAM's Lonnie Walton talked to a doctor about what you can do to protect yourself.
Flu flu and the RSV, the numbers are in the double digits.
Dr. Elsie Ott is the ER doctor at Freeman Hospital in Joplin. And yes, flu and RSV are filling the ER room for now. But he says this is standard, just like last year for the Joplin area.
The numbers are always between the double digits and the triple digits. And the reason why is a lot of babies and a lot of pediatric population, they usually get that virus.
Another virus Dr. Elsie Ott says to look out for is the norovirus.
Norovirus is basically a GI illness, meaning that it is a virus that affects the GI system. So we have our esophagus, we have our intestines and stomach, and when we get that virus, we experience severe symptoms.
Dr. Elsie Ott says although the virus is in the single digits according to the hospital records, he says in order to keep this virus at bay, you must wash your hands with soap and water only.
Unfortunately, hand sanitizer are not enough, and the general public is not aware of that, and I would like to raise awareness about washing hands with hot water and soap.
While Brett McDonald, a physician from Mercy Clinic Primary Care in Joplin, says although these diseases are contagious, it isn't a 2020 resurgence.
I don't think that there's going to be any resurgence of face mask, any kind of lockdowns, anything like we saw in 2020, 2021, anything like that. I think it's just going to be a normal flu season like it was before.
And one more thing Dr. Elsie Ott says is crucial is you need to remember to stay hydrated if you're feeling vomiting or nausea. And of course,
for both viruses, they should wash hands with water and soap.
Reporting in Joplin, I'm Lonnie Walton, KOAM News.
Dr. Elsie Ott says you should socially distance yourself from others for at least 48 hours to prevent spreading any disease. Well, Doug is next with a complete look at your forecast. And later, a manufacturing plant in southwest Missouri is about to begin mass layoffs. We hear from workers who could soon be out of a job.
Think your chili's the best?
Well, of course, another cold one for us today. We haven't been able to get above freezing for several days now, and we have another bout of light snow, which is going to roll in by late in the day tomorrow. Looks pretty good right now. Great shot of our Cornell Arts and Entertainment Complex. Tower cam, we are looking right through downtown Joplin. All right, winter weather advisory, and that is usually for anything, any snow under about 4 inches for our region. But every county in our viewing area, winter weather advisory until late in the day on Monday. And then to our south, we have winter storm warnings really from northwest Arkansas down toward Fort Smith and then over toward Little Rock. Right now, not much going on. We look pretty good, pretty much clear skies. But here's our storm system developing. Doesn't look like much right now. In fact, what's going to happen is we have this wave and dropping down through the Rockies. This wave will catch up with this wave and then kind of eject it out into the Central Plains as we go through about the next 36 hours. So let's go through time. Tonight's going to be quiet. Not too much going on. Few clouds increasing by morning. Upper teens for overnight lows. Clouds increase. Here's the noon hour. Snow starting to increase to our south. It could start as a little bit of sleet for 20 or 30 minutes and then quickly over to snow. Here's 4:30 p.m. So drive home from work tomorrow could be a little slick with the snow coming down. And where you see the darker blues are pockets of heavier snow. And when we get in those pockets, we may pick up a quick half an inch per hour. Temperatures dropping back upper 20s. Bands of light snow through the evening hours. Here's 8:30 p.m. Let's continue through the evening. Bands of light snow, heaviest along and south of I-44. This is about the midnight hour, and then bands of light snow continue until about the time you wake up on Friday morning. And because temps are going to be upper 20s when the snow is falling and it's going to be dark, it's going to be sticking to the roadway. So we're going to have some really slick spots by Friday morning. Friday afternoon, a little bit of sunshine, high temps right around freezing. So how much snow are we going to get? Northwestern counties, I'm going to keep you a little conservative, dusting to an inch. So an inch, isolated 2 inches in spots. Most of us 1 to 3. There could be a few isolated 4-inch amounts, mainly south of I-44. And then once you get northwestern Arkansas, Rogers, Bentonville, Bella Vista, Springdale, Fayetteville, 3 to 6 inches of snow. So we are going to have snow impacts, moderate impact, but not much in the way of ice, not Arctic air, and not a whole bunch of wind which is good news. We are going to have the road impacts, and we'll teeter along maybe some snow days by the time we get into Friday, because we are going to have some slick roads. 35 tomorrow, 33 on Friday, 39 Saturday, 38 Sunday. So it stays cold, but we do get into the 40s and 50s by the middle of next week, which is going to be nice to see after this entire week's been cold.
Well, the good thing about this system that's coming through like tomorrow is we don't have those extreme lows this time around.
Yeah, that's going to be good. I mean, it'll get down to 15 Friday night, but better than what we've seen.
Yes, that's for sure. All right, thanks, Doug. Well, the Joplin Library rolls out a new community service. In partnership with Friends of the library has launched a delivery service for homebound patrons called Traveling Titles. Now, the goal of Traveling Titles, which is offered within city limits, is to increase access to the library for those struggling with mobility. Well, coming up, a devastating attack on California.
The Golden State under siege. I'm Marianne Rafferty in Los Angeles with the latest on the devastating wildfires tearing through Southern California. Coming up.
Join us for comics, cosplay, and fun at ArtCon February 1st.
Nova Village.
A manufacturing plant in southwest Missouri is about to begin mass layoffs. Timken Belts in Springfield makes timing belts for engines. Reagan D. Trolio spoke with longtime workers who will be out of work before the end of the year.
To find out right before Christmas that so many people are going to lose their jobs it's devastating.
Local Steelworkers Union President Brian Budd is disgusted by Timken's decision to lay off roughly 40% of its employees.
They're taking these jobs and moving them to Mexico. They say it's to improve their global footprint, but to expand their global footprint. But really what it comes down to is they want to take advantage of people. They want to pay them dirt wages.
Bud says this isn't the first time Timken has laid off employees.
They would be moving the Kansas Fort Scott facility, which is our non-union plant. They've done the same thing in their bearings division in Gabney, South Carolina. They shut down a plant there of about 250 people.
And the Springfield Area Chamber of Commerce is aware of these job losses.
We know that Timken did file the WARN notice, the Worker Adjustment and Retraining Notification, which is a federally required notification that they supply 60 days in advance to the employees before this. So yes, that is a huge loss for the community.
Our plant's been a pillar of this community for so long. Most people in this community know someone in their family or personally who worked at Dayco, which is what it was called back in the day.
Timken officials won't interview on camera. Instead, they sent us this statement saying they have no additional information to share.
Most of the people on my committee have been there over 20 years.
Bud says working in a manufacturing plant is not an easy job, but someone has to do it.
With the hours, with the heat, with, the risk involved, and, that there's value in that. That means something. And I feel like the company doesn't appreciate that.
Well, the first round of layoffs will start in March. Now, last year, Timken Belts in Fort Scott announced it would be laying off 152 employees. Up next, we look at one school district's efforts to reduce cyberbullying and distractions in the classroom. Well, another Southwest Missouri school district is changing its cell phone policy. Starting this week, Fairgrove students from 6th grade through high school are required to lock their phone in a yonder pouch when they get to school in the morning. Now, district leaders decided to make the move to eliminate phone-related distractions from the classroom and prevent cyberbullying and the exchange of inappropriate materials. Fairgrove Superintendent Christian Overstreet says the yonder pouches take the enforcement responsibility out of the teacher's hands.
The phone slides into the pouch, earbuds and smartwatches also go in. There's plenty of room, and you just lock it shut. It's locked. You place it right there, hit the black button, and there you go.
Well, at the end of the day, special magnets mounted in various places around the school allow students to open the pouches and remove their device. Other schools are joining the cell phone ban. Pittsburgh USD 250 began its new no cell phones during class policy on Tuesday. 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports is coming your way. Thousands of mourners paid tribute to former President Jimmy Carter. Plus, fire conditions in Southern California intensify amid calls for evacuation.
You're watching the 4 states' most watched news.
This is KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. Thousands of mourners are paying tribute to former President Jimmy Carter as he lies in state inside the Capitol Rotunda. Fox News correspondent Rebecca Castor has more.
Former President Jimmy Carter lies in state for a final day ahead of his funeral service tomorrow at the National Cathedral. All day, the Capitol Rotunda has been open for the public to pay respects to former President Jimmy Carter. Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor was among those paying tribute, along with the Secretary of the Navy and members of that branch who served with Carter. They joined thousands of other mourners, some coming from across the country, to say goodbye to the 39th president.
He was an amazing man who did amazing things.
The rotunda will remain open to the public until Thursday morning, when Carter's casket is brought to the National Cathedral for his state funeral.
We're very honored that the administration and all of the security and patrols and federal agencies have come together to make sure he gets his final send-off.
All 5 living presidents are expected to attend the service, coming together for the first time since George H.W. Bush's death in 2018. The service will feature eulogies from President Biden, as well as posthumous ones from Carter's predecessor, President Gerald Ford, and Carter's vice president, Walter Mondale. They will be read by their sons.
So many people have come up to us and expressed this idea that Democrat, Republican, wherever they're from, they have respect for the human being that my grandfather was.
After the funeral, Carter's family will board Special Air Mission 39 for his final journey back to Georgia. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
Well, powerful winds and dry vegetation are helping several wildfires burn out of control in Southern California. Fox News correspondent Marianne Rafferty is in Los Angeles with the latest.
Fire conditions in Southern California intensifying overnight, with several blazes turning the Golden State an ominous shade of red. As crews were busy battling the Palisades fire, which broke out Tuesday west of downtown Los Angeles, a second blaze, the Eaton fire, sparked later in the evening, slightly north in Altadena.
Right now, we're just focused on life and then saving property.
Both infernos are growing because of tinderbox conditions and ruthless Santa Ana winds. Fire crews say the Eaton fire engulfed at least 400 acres in less than 2 hours, triggering mandatory evacuations.
It's horrific. I mean, just driving in the car, if you don't see any trees around, the car shakes like it's an earthquake.
The dramatic footage showing people desperately trying to save their horses, leading them through a street lined with lashing flames and swirling embers.
We have a couple we can let loose over there. We're trying to get as many as we can out.
A frantic scene also unfolded as teams rushed to evacuate a senior center from the encroaching Eaton fire. Crews even using a Pasadena SWAT vehicle to transport people to safety. Meanwhile, nerves are flaring as the tens of thousands who evacuated from the Palisades fire wonder if they will have a home to return to, with more than 13,000 structures under threats as of Tuesday night. California Governor Gavin Newsom has declared a state of emergency. In a statement, President Joe Biden has offered any federal assistance needed. In Los Angeles, Marianne Rafferty, Fox News.
Incoming President Trump says he blames President Biden for California's crisis, claiming the state faces no water in the fire hydrants and no money in FEMA. He also accused Governor Gavin Newsom of refusing to sign a water restoration declaration that could have prevented the fires. Newsom's office denies the claim, calling it pure fiction, and says the focus is on protecting people. Well, Doug is next with a complete look at the forecast, and later, a shift in winds.
A much sought after windy day at this wind farm in New Jersey, but the political winds when it comes to generating electricity from wind power may be shifting. I'm Jeff Locke in Atlantic City. I'll be back with a story coming up.
Well, of course, another cold one for us today. Temperatures struggled to warm up only into the mid to upper 20s, officially 27. Was our afternoon high. Great shot. Cornell Arts and Entertainment Complex. Tower Cam. We are looking downtown Joplin. Clear skies now, The clouds will rapidly increase as we get into the daytime hours tomorrow. Winter weather advisory in effect from Benton County all the way up to Wilson and Woodson County. And this is mainly for snow under 4 inches. Once you get above 4 inches, then we go into winter storm watches, which we have in Fayetteville, Fort Smith, and the eastern parts of Oklahoma. Not much going on now. We have pretty much clear skies, but here's our storm system starting to develop. We're waiting for this piece of energy to wrap up with this piece of energy, and then it's going to kick out into the central plains. But already central and western Texas picking up snow at this point in time. So we're going to be calm tonight. Cold, 16, 17, 18 degrees. Clouds increase through the morning hours. We'll stop at the noon hour. You can see sleet and snow increasing down to our south. As we go through the afternoon, bands of light snow start to push in. So here's 4:30 in the afternoon. We may start with a little bit of sleet and then switch over to snow. And this is going to be light snow. This is not like real heavy blizzard-like snow. This is light snow that takes some time to pile up, where you're getting maybe 1/4 to 1/2 inch per hour, and that is the maximum. So light snow continues through the evening. Here's 8:30 p.m. Light snow. We're going to stop at midnight. We go through all the way into the beginning of Friday. Here's 4 a.m. and light snow starts to exit the region. By the time we get to Friday afternoon, partly sunny skies, but temperatures still only right around that freezing mark, but roads will greatly improve by Friday afternoon. How much snow are we going to get? Northwestern counties, who got more of it with this last system, a dusting to 1 inch, but really most of us, about 90% of us, in a 1, 2, 3 category. There are going to be some isolated 4s out there, but I think most of us 1, 2, or 3 inches of snow. Then as you head south from Cassville, Bentonville, Springdale, Rogers, Bella Vista to Fayetteville, 3 to 6 inches of snow. So we are going to have some moderate impacts from snow, but low impacts, ice, cold, and wind. In the roads, yeah, we're going to have some slick roads. We're going to, by Friday morning, we'll teeter between just road impacts and possibly a snow day, as we'll get a few inches of snow. 21 to start, 33 by noon, high temp 35. Light snow starts to pick up late in the day. At least temperatures, though, by next week, they start to rebound just a bit. 35 tomorrow, 33 Friday, 39 Saturday, 38 Sunday. So it stays cold, but we do get some 40s and 50s next week, which is going to be very well deserved after this cold week we've had.
Is there the chance that, there's a little bit of accumulation out there right now? All that stuff's going to melt tomorrow once it gets above freezing.
Yeah, so we're starting fresh.
Yeah, so we're going to start with a little moisture on the ground to begin with before it freezes. All right, thanks, Doug. Well, folks in Coffeyville have an opportunity to find out about their ancestry. Now, yesterday, the Coffeyville Public Library hosted its first genealogy group of the new year. Library staff and volunteers assisted patrons with researching their family histories or local history. If you'd like to join in the fun, the group meets every Tuesday from 1 to 3. Well, coming up in sports, a pair of athletes from Girard signed to play college sports. Plus, Pitt State football announces who they'll play in this year's home opener. Brock Baldridge has the details and more.
Join us at 7 a.m.
Signing day periods from across the 4 states continue to emerge as a pair of high school athletes from Girard put pen to paper to officially compete at the next level. This afternoon at Girard High School, Natalia O'Neilio signed to continue her athletic career at Fort Hays State, where she will be one of the newest members of the track and field team. Likewise, Siler Sammons is also signing to play at the college level, except Siler is playing baseball at Central Christian College in McPherson, Kansas.
Always grew up wanting to play baseball, and it's been a dream of mine to go play at the college level. And I went on a college visit there, and God just kind of laid it on my heart that I should go there, and my family said it was a great school.
I had a couple options, and it kind of came down to they had a good program, but they also had the career that I wanted. I'm going to agriculture education, and not a lot of schools, like good running schools, also have a good agriculture program, so that was a big part of it. And then also the coaches there were amazing, and I really got along well with the girls. We clicked well, and it's very team-oriented, and I really like the team atmosphere.
Well, you can mark your calendars now for Pitt State football as the season's upcoming, and the Pittsburgh State Athletic Program announced who their opponent will be for the 2025 home opener at Kearney Smith Stadium. This fall, Pitt State football will face Grand Valley State on September 13th for the Gorillas home opener. The Division II powerhouses agreed to a one-year contract to play each other in the 2025 football season. The two teams will meet for the second time in program history. The Gorillas previously played Grand Valley State in the NCAA Division II playoffs back in November of 2023. Well, the Arkansas men's basketball team opened up conference play on the road last Saturday that resulted in a loss to the #1 team in the nation. Well, the Razorbacks return home to Fayetteville tonight to face a ranked Ole Miss team. Arkansas and Ole Miss square off tonight. We pick things up in the second half. This game's tied, but David Barnes hits a three to give the Rebels a 3-point lead. Later on, Eduardo Klafke underneath the basket there, wide open. Ole Miss leads by 8. Then Dre Davis gets a big dunk right here in transition to give the Rebels 11-point lead. Arkansas gets back in this game, but Ole Miss hits a big three right there to ice this one. Ole Miss goes on to beat Arkansas 73-66. Elsewhere in the SEC tonight, the Oklahoma Sooners are coming off their first loss of the season. OU hosts number 10 Texas A&M tonight in Norman. Sooners have had the lead all night, but at last check, OU currently leads Texas A&M 60-54 with 10:56 left in the game. Over to the Big 12, the Kansas Jayhawks return to Allen Fieldhouse. Number 11 Jayhawks face Arizona State at last check. KU leads ASU 56-45. Going back over to Pitt State football, it's always nice to get the schedule early, know who you're playing early on, and I gotta say, they're gonna have one of the tougher non-conference schedules this season because their first game is gonna be against the defending national champs. That would be Ferris State.
Wow.
So Pitt State's gonna have to go on the road to face them and then come back to Pittsburgh to face Grand Valley State.
And I'm assuming Grand Valley is still a pretty good team.
Very good team as well. They played in the playoffs 2 years ago, so a little bit of revenge there.
Yeah, well, that'll be nice to have them and have our home crowd supporting them as well.
Exactly. Hopefully it's a good atmosphere like it was against Ferris State last year.
I'm sure it will be. All right, thanks, Brock. We're back with more news after this. President-elect Trump is vowing to stop construction of new wind farms. Fox Business correspondent Jeff Locke is in Atlantic City, New Jersey, with more.
You're looking at the oldest wind farm in New Jersey. It's here in Atlantic City, and as perhaps you can tell, it's a good day for the wind, a windy day. But the political winds when it comes to wind power seem to be changing. President Trump making it clear he does not like wind power, which calls into question all of the wind farm developments now scheduled off the coast of the eastern seaboard of the U.S. Some of them have been built out and are operating, but others, their fate remains to be seen.
So we're going to try and have a policy where no windmills are being built. You know, off the coast of New Jersey, they want to build like 200 windmills. The people are going crazy. Nobody wants them, and they're very expensive. They don't work without subsidy. You don't want energy that needs subsidy. Energy is a good business. You don't need subsidy.
Indeed, the cost of offshore wind power is high. Take a look at the latest figures from the Energy Information Agency. They say the most expensive is nuclear, although it generates a lot of electricity. Offshore is second most expensive. Coal is third. As to the cheapest forms and ways of generating electricity, natural gas is number one, about $1,200 a megawatt hour. Solar is also fairly cheap, and onshore wind is remarkably cheap. And of course, the president wouldn't have any control over wind farms that were on private property. Here's an interesting fact, too, when it comes to wind. Now, 5 states, primarily in the Midwest, have as their number one source of electricity wind power. Those states are Iowa, Kansas, New Mexico, Minnesota, and South Dakota. Here along the Jersey Shore, though, local mayors hope President Trump is true to his word. They do not like the notion of offshore wind installations, claiming that it disrupts marine life, is unsightly, and is going to cost them money.
Governor Murphy wants 15% of our energy to be offshore wind. All right, that 15% will increase the residential electric bill when this is completed by 55%. 55% for 15% of our energy coming from offshore. It's ludicrous.
The question is, how far would President Trump go to block wind installations? Perhaps would he go as far as pulling the permits on ones that have already been approved? I guess we'll see which way the winds blow. Today, I think it's coming out of the west. In Atlantic City, I'm Jeff Flock with the Fox Business Network.
Well, Fox's Army-based comedy Going Dutch returns tomorrow night. Coming up, the cast shares how they bonded before filming. Fox's Thursday night comedies include the new series Going Dutch with Dennis Leary. We spoke with him and his co-stars about being behind the scenes of making the show, what's coming up, and more. Here's Fox's Ashley Dvorkin.
Attention! Fox's Going Dutch returns Thursday with more of its Army-based comedy.
Joel Church Cooper, who's the creator, the showrunner, as this was going through the development process, we were thinking about developing a workplace comedy set in the military world. It was Joel who threw in the idea of, it's not really a workplace comedy, it's that, but the core of the story is this father-daughter surprise relationship.
The cast shared how they bonded before filming.
We had a week of rehearsals, but they weren't really rehearsals. We kind of just sat around and ate sandwiches, but also Dennis and all of us would kind of just make fun of each other for like a week, and it was really chemistry building for that week in Ireland.
They added personal details to the characters, too.
There was a scene, was there a Boston Red Sox jacket?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
that was
I
all
thought of
me.
you immediately.
No, it was
Literally.
I'm always organic about it, right? So I wasn't writing on this. This was just Joel and his team. But Joel from the beginning said, I want the guy to be from Boston. And I said, well, listen, that always drives me nuts because people assume in the movies and in television, like, let's make the guy from Boston, right? Just because that's where I'm from, right? Massachusetts. So I always go like, don't do it just because of me. He was adamant that he wanted this guy. That's where he wanted the guy to be from. I said, I want the character based on General Patton because of I'm very familiar with his history, and I love the ego and the vanity of that.
Did each of you get to your own things, not just the Red Sox jacket?
I got some of my friends' pictures on my refrigerator in my apartment.
That
was really exciting to be
fun.
like, who are the friendships that I know would work in this environment?
In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
Well, that's our time for tonight. Thank you for joining us. We're going to leave you with video of a bobcat playing in the snow at the Maryland Zoo. Have a great night and an even better tomorrow.